So welcome everyone to our experience podcast today. This is NK from Service Sensum. I work as a head of customer experience at Service Sensum. And with me, I have my colleague Tanuj Diwan, head of product. And we have very special guest, Tiwuk Siswadi from Allianz. And let's dive into it. So, but you like to our audience, just give you a if you could share your quick brief about yourself and what you do and your role at Allianz. But
okay, yeah. So I'm a head of customer over, reporting to the chief marketing officer. So the CX part is like reporting to the CMO. I've been working in Allianz Life because in Indonesia we have two OEs, two operating entities: the Allianz Life Indonesia for life and health, and also the Allianz Utama for the PNC or for the general insurance product. So I'm the head of customer offer in Allianz Life. But with regard of the customer experience, that this is a shared services because I also servicing the Allianz Utama. Yeah, and I've been working for, this is my 17 years in Allianz.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm 2 years, I'm 2 years down the road to the retirement.
I hope that you will complete your teenager in Allianz.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody who is listening to us for the first time, we have opened a Spotify channel 5 months back, and where we invite CX leaders like Tiwuk and from all around the globe to share their thoughts. An episode is posted every week, and the link to our podcast you can find in the chat box, and also we will share this when this particular recording goes out. Yeah. All right, so let's get started. So we just want to share to all of our audience the structure of our today's conversations. We're going to talk about in 3 different structure today. So it is going to be like section A, where we will talk about the Allianz internal culture, and section B is going to be specific to understand what journeys Allianz has taken, and about talking about their service journey, bottom up NPS, likes of that. And then the last section would be talking about the how is Allianz making sure that CX has ownership during the in his departments, right? So let's dive directly into the first question, Tiwuk. So let us know a little bit about culture at Allianz, how it ties to the core business values.
Okay, so we see that we have this, what we call customer centricity. This is one of the 5 pillars of the Allianz Global, renewal agenda. This is launched in 2015. So with this customer centricity, that we make superior customer experience as the top priority of all of our action. And to achieve this, of course, that we need to understand our customer emerging needs, and then we have to adapt our business accordingly. So we embed, this customer centricity in the entire organization steering and culture. And we also, with the projects that we assess the customer impact. So for all projects that we have to assess the customer impact, positive or negative. And then also we have to mitigate risk and assessing the best timing, if we want to launch, our programs, our, transformation or improvements, and ensure that proactive and we have the proactive and empathic communication. So for the Allianz Indonesia itself, our culture, trust, care, and easy. So this is summarize the way we work together and how we treat our customer, colleagues, partner, and community. And we remind ourselves, this is something that we launched, like a few years back, that we remind ourselves with the hashtag, happy life made easy. So it's very easy, happy life made easy for us to continuously simplify the way we deliver our services and to create happiness. So basically, that's what it means. So what trust? So what trust is accuracy on each customer's transaction experience, and care. Yeah, and care, but we making customer feel engaged and valued because we treat them as a person. And easy, of course, that we ensure that each customer transaction is completed in simple manner and without difficulty, without the hassle. So basically,
Great. I think I really to the point is easy. So why did you choose the word easy in your culture?
Yeah, you know what easy, because Allianz, we abbreviate the Allianz with AZ. So the AZ, so easy, E, AZ, and Y. So that's why we like it easy, it's because it's simple and easy to understand. We have to be easy, right? So yeah, it's easy also to, to remember. So that's why we have trust, care, and easy. We just don't want to have like this buzz words or something, just something that's simple that we could understand, the whole company could understand. Yeah.
Absolutely great. I think like that's a great insightful. I think my next question would be is how you make this culture live in the organization. Means what does it make it live to everybody,
Yeah.
and what actions have been taken at Allianz?
Okay, so we know, like in the early 2000, of course, that maybe some company they have the OPEX, right, operation excellence, but for Allianz, like we have first introduced, to support this customer centricity. So we have first introduced our customer experience to Allianz Indonesia in January 2015.
Okay.
So basically, it's quite new, right? Because
Yep.
I think that people knows about the customer experience just only a few years back, right? Okay, so everybody, with this customer experience, that everybody in the company, we feel is responsible to create a memorable customer experience and seamless end-to-end customer journey. So now we're talking about customer journey, so we make sure that everybody in the company is responsible to create the memorable experience, and of course that we want the seamless end-to-end customer journey. For us, with this launch of the customer experience, that Allianz have these 5 standards of end-to-end customer journey. We are going to go details on the later on, and across these 5 journeys, it is important for us, that the journey has to be relevant for the customer, and it has to be simple and easy to deal with, and of course that be empathetic and caring. So this is, we have to ensure that journey, we just don't want to create what you call that, the journey that was like so beautiful something, but it has to be relevant to the customer. So with this 5 standard, that this is what we look at, when we have these 5 standards of customer journey. And
I have a question, Boo, on this. Like when this trust, easy, care, when this Allianz imposed this culture in the organization, are there any events or something that you do that people remember this inside the organization?
Yeah. So this is very exciting because like last year we eventually launched this. This is fun. Maybe you guys remember about the Marvel Avenger, right? So we all like into this character, right? So we create in Allianz, that we create this what we call it the Allianz Voyagers characters. So this is like a superhero, right? Because we want these Allianz Voyager characters like manifested the value of our trust, care, and easy. So we have the 6 Voyagers characters. So this is like a persona, persona to the culture. So the employees can relate each of the characters that they resemble. So one employee could have 6, of course, right? But they could see like which is the dominant characters in that that it could resemble. So these characters, we have to put this, utilize or manifest it in each of the core value. Let's say for trust, we have this Owen. Owen is the mover and shaker. From the name, like the mover and shaker, they have to think that they have to think more about like on the status quo, of the process of things. So we have the Owen, and we have the Bond, as the Bond is a commitment keeper. And for care, we have love, moral builder, and union, the connector. The 6 characters, actually we have all the cartoon image. So this is like a like a superhero. So this is very fun. And for easy, we have the keys, the simplifier, and the Kai, the inspector and adapter. So this is fun because like last year when we launched this, everybody was trained. So we have all like different. This is before the pandemic, and then when we have the pandemic, actually it's an online training like for us. And what's interesting that each of our employee, each of us, from the top down, from top to down, from the BOD to all, to all employee, that we have our own assessment of our character, what our dominant character. Like for me, my dominant character is the union, the connector. So my second one is the Owen in the movement and checker. But the other maybe could be love or something. But this is quite fun. Yeah.
So
So
for every person, this character, like they have to identify their own character. So have you created a questions that how a person can judge that this is my character?
Yes, yeah, they have questionnaire. Then we have a test. So we have test. We have to like to fill in all the questionnaire, and then assess us. So they see that basically that But most of the time that when we compare our notes, that it's actually it's quite accurate though. It's quite accurate. Yeah,
so that's fun. That's actually fun. No
yeah.
fun.
So, yeah, because we live it. Yeah, we live. We live this. So everybody will look at that and put it in our core value.
Okay.
I think like this is really a great way of how we can make up the culture in live, and I'm sure that our listeners today would have like got some really interesting way to make their own culture live and try and identify that what characters of the people they have, and they can try to work with those characters. That's really great. I think that relates. I think it's really fun. I think I'm just really thinking, and I just got into some characters. Actually, I was thinking, what characters I be. Kind of that
you could be a commitment keeper, I guess.
Yeah. And Andre has asked a relevant question that is very much related to this. Is that if you are onboarding CX as one of the company's pillar, right? So because there is some of the new age company focus on sales and marketing and revenue, then what is the process do you recommend like onboarding CX as one of the company's pillar?
So how do you start the CX inside the company when most of the like the founders, the top management is still thinking about marketing,
revenue.
So how do you?
But you have to know. But with having like this customer experience, we call it the customer excellence program. Like our global initiative. So we look at the end-to-end seamless customer journey. It's not just like we focus on the sales and marketing, because if you look at that, to give like a more true experience for the customer, we have to look from the beginning until the end. So we could say that our for our customer journey, our standard customer journey started with the sales and onboarding, is the issue resolution, or the customer management, right? And then of course that we're talking about the renewal and cancellation, because insurance policy could be canceled too, right? And then it's just like claim, and also the outbound communication. So this whole thing has to be, this is all the same, all are important, because we're not just like focusing, like on sales. So, like our sales distribution making the sales, and then we have to think of, like the whole journey that the customer spend with us. So this is something that we have to understand. So you're not just like focusing on the first journey, because it's very important. Of course, everything is.
So one question on this, like. Now you have understood this all, and you guys started this in 2015, and now it is like a much more cultural driven now. Everyone loves CX, right? So one question that I think Andre is also trying to ask is, how did you in 2015 thought about this as a global initiative that CX needs to be a pillar? We cannot just be dependent on. So how in 2015, the back days?
So of course the first one is a global initiative, right? Because if we're a multinational company, if it's global initiative, then we have to do it, right? But of course, if we do it because we're not doing it because like it's a must, but we know that the important, how important it is. So because to achieve the customer centricity, we are transforming into a company that revolves around customers. So we design our products and services from customer perspective. And and overall is also that we are going, our objective is also being a digital and data driven company, because now that like more the trend is, right? And we collect direct customer feedback using proven and tested survey tools. So that just like, if looking again, if you know like what is important, like this first journey or the other journey. So basically that we collect direct customer feedback all across journey using the proven and tested survey tools and methodology, and we take action based on what we learn. So if we have the insight, right, if we know like what really the customer feedback, so we can radically simplifying and digitalizing our products and processes, and ensuring that we provide or what we provide is relevant. Again, the key is relevant. We have to provide what's relevant to customer, and we're delivering the superior value through, of course, the excellent and caring customer service. So what I like here, the word is relevant, and it's also caring. This is something that, sometimes that we forgot about it.
Okay. So one other question, Boo, that came from Opta India, that sometimes people don't give feedback that easily, right? And in 2015, when you started measuring it for the first time, how did you encourage the customers to share the feedback? Was there any communication that was made to the customer that we are making this change?
This is something that we also learned, if we through customer centric company, actually that the customer is highly willing, to recommend, and
Okay.
why if you look at the behavior, why the customer wants to be willing to recommend, of course, if they have a recent contact. If I had a recent contact, and if I have a memorable experience, especially if exceeding my expectation. So this is also the thing that, they are willing to recommend. And of course, that if the company is well known in the market and has excellent reputation, of word of mouth in my environment. So again, this thing, for the customer behavior, if they want to willing, if they have a recent contact, if they have a memorable experience, especially, a wow experience exceeding their expectation. And if they know the company is well known, and also that, word of mouth, they, have a proven reputation in the assignment. So as a customer centric company, that, surprisingly, you have more than,
So you get more feedback because of the way they start getting connected. So was there any communication done, Boo, for the customers in 2015 that we will be initiating bottom up NPS and we would want you to fill up those surveys, for so that they give you feedback, not just recommendations, so that, because see, most of the times we have seen that people don't respond to feedback that easily, right? They'll say, oh, I don't know if Allianz is going to listen to me or not, something like that. So when you started this initiative in 2015, did you inform the customers as well? We will start this bottom-up NPS. Was there something like that done?
No, as a matter of fact, that we have this top-down and bottom-up NPS, not just like in 2015. As a matter of fact, it's starting in the May 2000, I guess, when we have the OPEX and Operation Excellence. But the different thing, because that's more like the technical, right? About this is the operational thing about the excellence. Sometimes it's not, the customer experience. When we launched it, this is more about customer revolving about the customer. So the customer service is about me, it's about what relevant to me and the question. So we changed the tone that, with the customer experience. So our bottom up NPS is definitely now that, we're not looking at the, maybe if you're looking at the operation excellence, the touch points should be some more about the process and things. So, but now that we have the 5 customer journey, and then we know, we have the sub journey too, right? And then that we also look at the what customer touch point, in each of the customer journey, and we look at that and we see which one is relevant, critical to them, right? And then that we decide that as a what you call that, as a touch point. So 2015 up until now, we have for Allianz Life Indonesia, we have 30 touch point, across the whole 5 journey, because we know that's important for the customer, and we want to measure that because that's relevant and important for the customer. And for our PNC company, Allianz Utama, the general insurance, that we have 10. So in all, we have 40
touch points.
Touch point as a BAU.
Feedback,
but we also have the ad hoc, we also have the ad hoc bottom up NPS touch point, especially if we have this tribe, the agile tribes more for innovation, or we have other transformation or other improvement. So basically,
we'll talk about that too. So one last question from just one question I'll pick, NK, is, have you designed any product or any service or process based on customer feedback? Any recent example?
Definitely. Now it's become the what you call the sign, for sign off. If you develop or we design the product before going to the pricing, now that it becomes the what you call that, the requirement for the sign off.
Okay, so for sign off, you have done something which was developed because of the customer feedback.
Yeah, and also our CX team has to be involved in all projects, because that we have to assess, right? And we have our feedback, especially our bottom up results. It's become the baseline, for the projects, to look into.
Okay, awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay, NK, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was so interesting information flowing up. I just forgot that I have to ask next question. Yeah, well, so I think we covered a great things on the culture side. Yeah, so thank you so much by sharing the details with us and with our audience today. The next thing that we want to go deep dive further into your service journey and specifically about your customer journey program. Yeah, so first question is that what led you think that you have to deploy a customer journey or like a service journey?
So pardon? So can you
what led you to think you have to now start the journey program? Why you started your journey program?
Okay, now that we see why, I think some of them I already explained it. Then again, why by having, this 5 journey, and then, we have to get the customer feedback on every part of the journey, right? So we know that we could come up with, because we learn about, we have this customer excellence program, which we make this, what we call it, the customer journey mapping.
Okay.
So even though we have like this 5 standard Allianz, globally of the customer journey, but of course that we have to make it, to map it, so we map it, for each journey, we map it by having like what we use the approach, the customer excellence program. So we systematically measuring customer experience for each of the journey map. And then we identify areas for improvement, and then we enhancing the driver of satisfaction along this customer journey. So if you look, it's more like a NPS based methodology, where we identify the pain points and then driver of customer satisfaction across the journey. And from that pain point and the drivers, and then again, we test it again with the NPS, and then we come up, we have like this idea, what you call the ideation workshop. So we have list down, all this, and then we come up with this, idea, and then we test it again, and then we agree whether we make this as an improvement, or whether it could be like the improvement of process, it could be a transformation of process. So all based on the understanding of this customer of the customer journey that we map. So this is also like a very, very true but very exciting process.
Yeah, I think that led me asking question is that how do you make feedback collected at these journey touch point actionable? So everybody's collecting feedback at every touch points, and I think you have measured that. But the key question is that how you are making it actionable in the departments.
Yeah, because if we make it actionable, definitely, the business process or the touch point leaders will also, have like this ownership, right? Because they know, it's about like my process in, like my responsibility or something like that. So we know that the first one that we could use is a closed loop process. Because close the loop, so we know if we have like detractor of the complaint feedback, so we make it close the loop process with our service recovery team, because it has to be, it has to be dealt immediately, otherwise it will grow and become like hard.
People forget. Yeah, even people forget.
Yeah. So, and then we have this regular meeting, because we have about 40 touch point leaders, right? So we have the regular meetings when we have the result that we are discussing process improvement or mitigation with them, because so we know, they know what's really happening. And then of course that we measure if there any improvement, something like that. And then of course that our bottom-up NPS dashboard present to monthly management team and the steering committee. So the bosses knows about this as well, right? So they keep a brush on this result. And also that the bottom-up NPS result, like what I mentioned earlier, that we could use as a baseline, and we also use like as a post research for process improvement or transformation project. So now like the bottom-up NPS, the journey now it's become like the reality. It's become like a main requirement if you do anything in this company. And then we also so we also collect quantitative feedback to identify the pain point in CX journey and root cause. behind them. Because if we overcoming this problem, then it means that we are coming up with the innovation solution to exceed our customer expectation. So this is something, when you look at the sales and onboarding, right? So like people in the life insurance industry, that when we have like this what you call that, traditionally when we have this all these application, they need also the document, a supported document, right? So they put it. So usually, like the people say, oh, okay, like this SLA, service level agreement is about like 7 days. But like by having this journey map, and also like we have this ideation, and we also have the feedback, right? So we could think out of the box, and we could radically changing this. So can you imagine now with for our for the what you call that, what we call it, the sales acquisition, right? The policy acquisition. So instead of 7 days, that we also have, of course, that we know in insurance we have the what we call like the simple case, that's mean like no medical checkup required, but we know that those clean case, what we call the clean case. So can you imagine that we have the 5 minutes for the approval of like the simple clean case? Yeah, but of course, if you look at most of the product here, like the unit link, of course, the unit link for the unitizing, you have to wait, right, because of the unitizing. But for the protection itself, can you imagine, because of this what you call that approach, and we have this squad and tribe, looking at this, now we have the 5 minutes straight through process.
Wow.
So something that so this is like the what you call it, like the benefit of like doing out of the box, and like meticulously look at the pain point and what the customer wants.
I think you're delivering a great value there, is making it easy for the customer. I would say that, like, that's the core value that we talk about, and how we are making it very, very easy to the customer, that just in 5 minutes you get the things done. I think that's great. One quick question, but Tiwuk, I think, like, just for our audience, that we have talked about bottom up NPS a lot during our conversation, but some just to get more clarity, that if you could share that what exactly is the bottom up NPS we have, and
the difference between bottom up and top down NPS.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I see. So we know, the way we measured, our journey, and then, also like all the touch point that we use globally recognized NPS as our key metric, right? So we have to, like, the first one is the top-down NPS. With top-down NPS, that each allow us benchmarking against our competitor and industry peers.
Okay.
Yeah. So the difference with the bottom-up NPS is a transactional NPS, which we choose the critical and relevant touch point, and then we are having like this what you call it, a real experience, because our respondent is the customer who already experienced the transaction
right.
The touch point.
Okay, so top down NPS is like the benchmarking NPS that you do, where you compare yourself against competition, and bottom up NPS is the journey touch point transactional NPS, which if increased gets lead to an increase in top down.
It's NPS. A real experience, because like for the top down NPS, previously we have like this CATI, the CATI top down NPS. So it's not like every month, so it's like every year. And then of course we just tell our vendor that we're going to have this, and like this customer is this, so they choose it, right? But the thing is, like for top down NPS, maybe most of them are, like not necessarily having the real experience, right? So they could be like the what you call it, the perception. So because they hear, because I have a friend that the French, they have like this good experience with that, or like a bit bad experience with that. So with top-down NPS, it could be about perception, some of them. But for the bottom-up NPS, is a real one, because our respondent is the customer who just recently have the real experience with this.
Real experience. So it's more real time as well, right?
Yes.
Because people remember it. Like once they answer something, and because they have done a transaction in the past 3-4 days, and if you ask a survey after that, ideally it should be automatic.
Yeah, ideally it's automatic, but we also have like later on I will explain why we have also like this.
So I get your point. So one other thing that I focus when, like, we work with Allianz, we work with other insurance and different sectors as well. So what we notice that when we are doing just top down NPS, we are in the even the questionnaire is also huge. First of all, like it's like
yeah,
you have to ask so many things there, and you are asking about service, you are asking about application, you are asking about everything. So if you're doing that once a year, not everyone will remember what happened with the application, what happened with that, right? So that is why transactional NPS is important, because everyone remembers immediately, like, okay, 2 days back I had a call like this. Now this was the issue that I faced. So that way, using bottom-up NPS actually helps you improve touch point one by one, right?
Yes.
Which helps it on the overall level.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, like, I agree with that, because, by having like this, because we know from the beginning, right? Because it's like more frequent, of course, for the bottom-up NPS. So we know like which of the touch point, in the journey that is critical, that we have to look, because, because that when we deal with that and we try to improve that, we have the mitigation, at least we know it from beginning, right? And then, when we had, the time for the field work of the top-down NPS, because we know that, we already fixed it.
So the question for the audience is, are you making bottom-up NPS or transactional NPS at your organization, or is it just top-down? So the question is for everyone. You just have to say yes or no. Would love to hear from you.
And what is the key thing that you get from us working with us?
Like using Service Ensem, yeah.
Okay, yeah, with Service Ensem, yeah. So we see that Service Ensem has a good understanding of our situation and requirement, because like we have like this, because previously that we have a bottom-up NPS with other vendor, right? But then when we talk to you guys, actually, you have the good understanding of our situation and requirement. Sorry. And also, like, you have this feature, to provide us with easy survey creation. So we create surveys. It's quite easy. So it's like user friendly to us, and of course the value for money. And then we also yes, because like if you deal with the global or like regional, that we have to get like this, but this is like very for money, and also flexibility, because you guys are willing to improve or develop feature as per our feedback. So along the way, if you need like improvement, that you are flexible to it. And also, like I said, it's quick response. My teams, say that you have a quick response, to them. So like, that's very good, because sometimes that we need, your help, right? We need, to discuss things with you.
I think that's what CX is all about, quick response.
Yeah. And one other thing that actually see, like, which you also, you also telling us about, the methodology, of course, because the top-down NPS, usually people use CATI, right?
Right.
With telephone. So we learn, like if, and also like when people call, when you call, not at the right time, you don't have like the good response, right? We are reluctant even to call. Sorry, when I got cough, it's not because COVID.
You wanna take some water?
Too much.
You wanna take some water, but
yeah, and also that you see that like with the CATI, that's one of the weakness, right? Because like people tend to reluctant to to take the phone, and also like surprisingly when they took CATI, I don't know, maybe it's become like, I don't know, it's the Indonesian or it's the Asian. If you talk directly to the person is also reluctant to give you like the
honest feedback.
The correct feedback, right? The transparent feedback. But now that we see that if you look at digital, then you turn to get like more freedom, because like you can do it on your own time, not like directly that you have to give the feedback, right? That you can give the feedback at the right on your own time, and also that you have what you call that you have flex. I mean, like you have transparency, because you don't see it and you don't have like to feel reluctant, because you just tape it. So that the response is more what you call it is more more true. Yeah. So that's why that you also mentioning about like having the digital top-down NPS, but that's very good though. You're just not like telling about like this thing, but you can also, there's another methodologies that we could look to improve.
Okay, absolutely. I think
this
like
is very good. This is very good of you.
Yeah, I would relate that, like our motto is to like make every feedback actionable. Yeah. So that's our vision, and we want to make sure that like we make it so easy and available at your doorstep. So I think that is where like support service is the great part of it. Like we want to make sure that like if you need a support, we are always been there in your language as well. So we can support at your ease. So coming back to easy as well, like coming from Allianz. So we're gonna make it easy for you as well.
I have one question that came from Dita Prativi. So she mentioned, how did you design the CX survey to get as many actionable insights to improve the process?
The question, right? This is something that we have when we design the questionnaire, because the question, something is like tricky, yeah. But of course, for the bottom-up NPS, we have the question. Of course, the first one is about like how likely are you to recommend, right? And then and we say like what and why. But also now I noticed, maybe it's like technical to you guys, that we could also like add some question to that,
Yeah. So what I would like to add in this, like for Allianz and also other that companies that we work with, it depend on the touch point that we have. So like who mentioned, we have the NPS question as always at the end, but we also add the CSAT question at the top, like how satisfied were you with this transaction? So that's the most important part, and that's the most simple. So bottom-up NPS should not be a bigger questionnaire. It should be a simple questionnaire asking about how was your transaction, and maybe few key drivers questions like how was the agent responsiveness, if it's talking about the contact center, how knowledgeable was the agent, how was the wait time. So just picking the objective and doing 3-4 questions in a bottom-up NPS is a good enough strategy. And to improve on it, it's actually what Tiwuk mentioned before, like the service recovery team giving the closed loop, calling people who give a negative rating to understand much deeper. Because sometimes in surveys, they won't answer everything, right? So sometimes you have to give them a call to understand more deeper. So that is what our CX strategy would be. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Tanuj, for that.
Yeah. I'll end this poll. And meanwhile, Boo, there is another question that just came in.
Yeah, I can take that question, Tanuj.
Can you take that up? And from Hendra?
Do you use other metrics like other than NPS for touch points, basically CSAT or CES as well?
Because like starting previously, that the questionnaire is about like 1 to 10. We know that for Indonesians, sometimes they don't really familiar with the 1 to 10 score of the NPS. But we started also like a few years back that we started what we call it the 5-star ratings. Because like our OEs, Allianz OE, any other OEs, they use the 5-star rating. But you remember that we also asked the 5-star rating because it's easier for them, to rate, from 1 to 5. So from the bottom up NPS, Tanuj, we also have like this question for the 5-star. And then because we use you put the CSAT also there, because like from the 5-star, that for us we starting to publish it, to the to our website, what is the rating against, we choose the very important touch point for the customer, and then we put, let's say for the motor, because for the motor, asuransi mobil, for Indonesian is motor, that we have that claim motor, we have that back in 2019, I guess, that it's already published. And then some of our touch point on live is also a 5-star rating. We put it in the what you call that? So because easier, because easier, we combine it. We just combine it, the question there.
Okay, thank you so much. NK, I'll share the results of the poll. So the good thing is like the majority have already started like using automated feedback system, but there are some which are doing manually, like around 50%, and some are not doing it. So hopefully like this, as the digital is going forward, this will, the number will keep on increasing for the first one. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing this. So Boo, one more question from the Pahendra, which says, how did you build NPS to be one of the most important parameter for CX? Like, and how is like every touch point responsible for an NPS target as well?
So it's depend, it's dependent, if like, if you have like this project, for the what you call for the what improvement of process or transforming, again, we look at the journey, and then what our NPS results showing, for that certain journey, we use it as a baseline, and we use it as a post project, and also that we monitoring it, regularly to see like whether there's an improvement. Is that what the question?
What they are trying to say, like, did you get any rejections from touchpoint owners when you were setting up like NPS target for them? And
of course, at first, yeah. At first, yeah. Yeah, at first that, they think that, and I tell them we're not an internal audit, because, this is something that, that we say that, oh, I don't want to put it that, because otherwise, I'm the touch point leader and also the, the directors, that I don't want, like my, what you call it, my process within my responsible, that's really transparent and showing. And we tell them, we're not the internal auditor, so we're not like, like what we call it, like we just give like what you call it, some difficult to them, right?
Right.
But what we see is like the way why we want it, because it's important. It is just, because it's an end-to-end customer journey, and we know like this touch point that is very relevant to customer. We don't want the missing link. That your part is a missing link. We don't want to, like to judge you with that. It's of course, even though they started with the minimum, with the what you call that, negative score, right? But we have like some point, at first the touch point leader is very reluctant, it likes very, like very, and say like rejection to that. But of course,
Right.
that again, we have the customer management team, right? I mean, we have the management team and also the customer experience steering committee that, they have like something, the instruction that you have to do it, right? So this is something that you could do. But of course that, we also have like the CX, we always communicating, we always communicate the objective, the timeline on the responsibility, deliverable, something like to them. We have to clearly, what you call, explain to them and tell them we're not judging them. This is like for the
So
whole
that's
of us.
most important.
Yeah, that was
Communication, I
important.
think.
Yeah, and then one of the part that like, and this is like one of the touch point that have like a big volume, right? At first, the touch point leaders are reluctant, but then they started with the negative, but like in it's like not less than a year they improved that much to positive score. And then in our customer CX workshop, we award like this touch point leader because they have like the highest improvement. So of course, because now
that's a very good point.
yeah, because
rewarding them,
the way we think sometimes, we are the CX team that we have to deal, we communicate very clearly what is the objective. And then again, we're not like judging them, we're not internal auditor that they keep punishing with them. No, what we need is the improvement.
Yeah. So I think once they see one success story, other touch points owners automatically follow that. That these guys are not
definitely. Yes, definitely. We also have this video, right? So we just not that having the customer. Of course, one of the point that we should also having like the customer testimony. If they have the improvement, it's a very powerful. It's a very powerful also media that we use this customer testimony if we have the customer event. But we also have like the testimony of our staff. Like when they're doing it. The testimony of the touch point, those people, in the touch point leaders on the touch point or the business processes, we also, those who have the what you call the experience, the big growth, we also, tape them. We have the video.
Oh, that's
and
a really
then,
fantastic
yes.
idea.
And then we put that, maybe we also put that, and also the thing, we also have like this one, to have the buy-in, why important this, this job. Sometimes we don't know what the frontline job, especially the frontline job, right? Because they have to deal with the customer directly. But we also have like the listen to the customer program before the pandemic. Of course, that they could sit next to our call center or things, and they could put in, so they know how difficult, how the customer feedback is really how they deal with the customer, something like that. And we also have like this, what we call it, idea to success, that we have like this real case that we have from customer, and then we have the contest for our staff, how they deal with that, and that's very good because they have like the ownership that customer, we have to revolve around customer.
So I'll ask this question much deeper. I really love what you mentioned. Can you explain a little bit more about this contest, like a problem, and then you mentioned that frontliners are involved to
before the pandemic, of course, that we are all working in office, right? So it's easier that they could deal, they sit with the call center, all the customers, and then they listen, they look at the like how they interact and how the customer deal with us. But then when, during this work from home, that we have, of course, that we choose about, every month that we have one case, real case that we have from the customer.
Okay.
And then, we just put through the internal communication, and then we have the contest. So we have this case. How do you deal with this? So we have all the ideas, right?
Yeah. That's a
and
really
then of course,
good one.
and of course, like this, like these people who have this idea that, with the contest that, we have that the front runner or the top case, that of course that they want to have the exposure to the management, right? And we see, when we have the town hall, we tell them that this person, who have this, the top ideas of having, like the customer solution. Of course, those people want to have like the exposure to the management. This is something, if
I
you
think
look at that,
how good they would feel if they are getting a chance to present some of their case in front of the top management, right? This is like 100% employee engagement and plus employee experience. This is an absolute beauty. Loved it.
And we have like, we always have to do this in our town hall. So our town hall is not just like top down, but we also like very engaging, so all staff,
no, that's fun. I would love to attend one day. Okay, go ahead.
I think like these are like we came to these questions a little fast because we were asking about like the CX ownership, but I think like you have very beautifully explained, I think, no judgment, and how we embark like the frontliners to the the sharing their ideas very freely and openly, like making up that they have the count in the entire system. There is nobody's judging your views. Is really absolutely like one of the key core value of Allianz. So I think like that's great to hear.
Could you share one success story about like how NPS actually worked as a referral points or cross-selling, upselling point for Allianz?
Yes. For us, like, like for the NPS, of course, definitely more into like the leads, like the referral program and the leads, because again, if we have like a good NPS result, like a group top-down NPS result, or we know that, there are improvement because of the bottom-up NPS result, then again, like the customer have the good experience on it, right? So there's also that we could ask them, we could have like this program, we call it customer get customer.
Customer get customer.
Customer, because we know that, we have this offering, and then we send it to the customer, and then of course that we give this lead to the servicing agent. That's for sure.
Okay. So someone gives a NPS, a good NPS, like a 9 or 10. So you give this to your agents, like cross-sell it to them.
Yes, because if they promote it, it's not like 10, because we know sometimes we say 10 is for gut, right? But like 8, 9, but basically, we have the average of 9 or like even 8 to 9, right? And no, it's 8 to 9, right? Still a promoter, So basically, that is true though. Those again, they're promoter because they like us, right? They rate us high.
You can ask them directly.
Yes, definitely.
Is there a metric that you set up for the team, which are like, this is something that is coming from the referrals? So they mentioned that. Could you share what metrics do you use for this? Like if someone gives an NPS, you give it to the sales team, the agents, right? So do you measure that as a metric as well?
Actually, we have like this data warehouse and data science team. And also that we have in my team, because we have like this, she's in charge of market and customer analytics. We do customer analytics, so we have like all this analytics, from parameter, including the NPS.
And so
and then we have this when we have like this system, the leads management that we put in the agent platform. They have their platform, right? So we call it leads management, and there's a reason there. There's a reason there. So this is something that we are now try to, because again, that we work into the single customer view, right? So this is something that the NPS should be like a parameter in the single customer view and has to be available. But now that we in our CRM system, this is something that we are developed. So if the front line open the the system, and they know they are flagged, like this customer, but we are still working on it. We have already the improved CRM, but regarding the flagging of they are promoter or something, that we are
that needs to be done. Okay, so I think we'll work on that together, sending it to the CRM once the integration is done. So one last question I have is, do you have any example funny example can be, or a crazy example, when you received some negative feedback from the customer, and then you have to convince the other touchpoint owner that please prioritize this. And how did you make sure that they prioritize? Any crazy or funny example will also do.
So this is something, of course, that I couldn't really leak this much, but we have, of course, that, like I said, if we have this detractor, as a complaint, and then we work with the service recovery, and then of course that we have to deal, with the other department. Basically, it's about like claim or something. So it could be a health claim. So this is something with that. But of course that we have this steering committee, right? The steering committee, they have like this, reluctant, they, relevant, what you call BOD, or even like the head of department. So again, that if we could, have like some difficulty, then we could escalate it to the steering committee.
You can see the poll right now. We'll love your response on that. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining today. And thank you both, Tiwuk, for sharing such insightful conversations that you did.
And
it was lovely having you and lovely learning from you.